As a lawyer, I've come to realize that litigation is a lot like plastic surgery. Most people don't go through it, and some people do a little bit. But some people are just addicted to it. And H3 Productions always seems to be bandaged up in some legal paperwork for one thing or another. But if litigation is plastic surgery, then Ethan Klein is changing the face of reaction content for the future. Now, is he cutting off the head to spite the nose? Or is he removing some cancerous warts from content creation spaces? And believe me, this lawsuit will remove these creators. But there's something genius about how Ethan went about this that will give him even more damages in the lawsuit. First though, let's talk about the case and how this is going to play out and whether or not Ethan is even justified in doing this. Now, is Ethan Klein being hypocritical? He built a lot of his content off reactions and was even sued in 2016 by Matt Haas for copyright infringement. So a lot of people are asking, why is Ethan now turning around and suing someone for the same thing? The answer is clear to me, but I'm just a stupid lawyer. It's like, what do I know? In 2016, Ethan Klein was the champion of fair use. He was standing up for all creators who make reaction content. And that court case didn't settle. The court actually ruled that Ethan's video was fair use, even if we believe everything that Matt Haas alleged was true. Now, Ethan's using the same lawyer to file his lawsuit on the other side of the same fair use fight. He's saying that what these creators did is not fair use. What changed? Well, Ethan's court case in 2016 shows us a great example of what is fair use, but keep in mind, Ethan will first have to prove copyright infringement in this case, and then Casey Tron, Frog Baby, and Jeans can assert their defense of fair use. And as you'll see when we go through the elements and the evidence, I just wonder what they're gonna say. Like, what's their defense really gonna be? Are they gonna use the whole ethically watch argument? Like they're saying like, oh, we're gonna ethically watch Ethan's video on our channel so he doesn't get the views? Like, I would love that. It just shows a level of critical thinking that makes me envious of Ethan's lawyer. Like, the case is so ripe with evidence for Ethan's side, it's insane. It's like putting a professional chef on one of those cooking competitions and giving him a fridge like fully stocked with all kinds of ingredients while his opponents get like half an onion and a broken spoon. I can't imagine being the lawyer for one of those broken spoons, okay? And I'm telling you, these streamers are cooked. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, let's talk about what a jury has to believe first to find copyright infringement, and then we'll talk about fair use. And then we'll talk about something that the other lawyers on YouTube aren't talking about. And I'm talking about the money that will be awarded to Ethan. I'm talking about something called statutory damages. All right, Ethan is suing in LA, so we use the 9th Circuit jury instruction to see exactly what he has to prove against Casey Tron, Froggo, and whoever else. First, the plaintiff is the owner of a valid copyright, and second, the defendant copied the original expression from the copyrighted work. Now, obviously, the video about Hassan is Ethan's original work, and if you make original work, you instantly get the copyright for it. But did these streamers copy Ethan's work in their own? No, they didn't copy it. They played it outright, okay? They straight up took it. They didn't even like make their own version, or they just didn't even try. Guys, this is so blatant. You have no idea what's coming next. I'm excited to tell you about the payout for this, but just let's go through the elements. So yes, they would be found to have committed copyright infringement. So now we move to the fair use defense. It's an affirmative defense, meaning if you can prove your defense, you undo the copyright infringement liability. So the defendants have to prove these elements. Here are the legal requirements to prove fair use straight from the 9th Circuit jury instructions. The defendant contends that he, she, or other pronoun made fair use of the copyrighted work for the purpose of criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, research, or other purpose alleged. Did you guys see them using Ethan's work for any of these things? Were they criticizing it? They were just like letting it play with no commentary. They were like vaping, smoking, leaving their chairs to watch. They basically did nothing but let the video play to their viewers to rake in donations and subs, all right? Definitely not news reporting. They sure as hell didn't teach us anything. And let's not even entertain scholarship or research unless it's like research about how to get sued into oblivion. Well, legend, what about the other purposes alleged? Well, that's something the court can fill in if there's a legitimate purpose. Now, you tell me in the comments what you think is an actual thing they can prove in court that's not gonna blow up in their faces. And I promise you, I'll reply, just be creative. Here are the 4 factors the jury can consider when determining the defense's claim for fair use. Let's take these one by one. The purpose and character of the use. Well, this is the nail in the coffin, all right? Right off rip, Element number one, right off rip, these streamers are going back to the lobby. This is the equivalent of a hot drop, and they just don't have the brains to survive this legal BR. They straight up announced their purpose on Reddit and on their own live streams. The purpose was to draw views away from H3 Productions and ethically watch his content without giving him revenue. The purpose, in other words, is to steal. And they are fish in a barrel at this point legally. 2 and 3, the nature of the copyrighted work and the amount of the video used in relation to the work as a whole. Ethan's video was a bit long, and it sounds like he did it on purpose. It was an hour and 40 minutes plus, all right? And Ethan says he did this whole stunt on purpose. No doubt the length of the video was part of the plan. You see, these streamers played the whole hour and 40 minutes. They didn't just play like a short clip or some snippets. There is no question that they played the entirety of the video, and that is gonna play against them. Number 4, the effect of the use of the potential market for the copyright work. This one's obvious, okay? Denims had over 40,000 viewers, and keep in mind, the stated purpose of this was to take those viewers away from H3 so that these 40,000 people can watch his content without giving him revenue or giving him views. So would they be able to prove fair use? No. No defense lawyer would willingly take these cases to trial and try to prove fair use. It's like going to it's like a sheep going to the slaughter, okay? This is like a very checkmate position for the streamers. They just can't win. All right, now for the juicy part, damages. Normally, a plaintiff in copyright infringement has 2 options for damages. They can choose actual damages, which is showing the exact amount of money they lost, or they can pick statutory damages, where you don't have to prove how much you lost, but it's a bit more complicated. However, statutory damages can be really strategic because you stand to get a lot more money out of it. And here's the genius of Ethan's trap. He explains in his reveal video that he registered the Hassan video with the Library of Congress for copyright purposes before it went live. Now, why did he do that? Because of this paragraph right here. Statutory damages are precluded when the copyright holder does not register the copyright before commencement of the infringement. This means that if you file for copyright before the infringement happens, you get access to statutory damages. But if you don't, then you have to stick with actual damages, which might be too low for Ethan to recover a lot of money. And you can see this rule if you scroll down in the jury instruction for statutory damages. You have to register the work before infringement to tap into this higher damages. Ethan knew all this all along, even before he published the Hassan video. He knew that the streamers were gonna do this. That's how predictable they are. Here are the factors the jury will consider for statutory damages. Number 1, the revenue lost by the copyright holder as a result of the copyright infringement. Number 2, the profits earned by the defendant as a result of infringement. Okay. We talked about these, sure, whatever. The good part starts on the next line. Number 3, the need to deter future infringement. Here, the jury can consider what they want to do to stop people from doing this again. Remember, I told you, Ethan's going to change the face of reaction content. This is how. Number 4 is similar, the need to penalize the infringer. 5, the circumstances of the infringement. And 6, whether the infringement was intentional. All of these play together, all right? Obviously, these creators have done this before and had malicious intent. That's how Ethan knew they're going to do the same thing. They pre-planned all of this on Reddit, and they were very proudly pronouncing it on their live streams, okay? They need to be penalized, and they need to be considered of what they're going to do in the future. Is this going to stop people from infringing in the future if the jury awards statutory damages? The answer is obviously going to be yes. And here's how the damages shake out. Statutory damages cannot be less than $750 and not more than $30,000 for each infringement. That's a lot of money, right? But what if I told you Ethan can recover up to 5 times that amount per infringement? What if I told you about something called willful infringement? Yay! An infringement is considered willful when the plaintiff has proved both of the following elements by a preponderance of the evidence. And guys, preponderance of the evidence just means over 50% chance, like 50.00001% chance that this is true. This is the easiest legal standard ever. First, the defendant engaged in acts that infringed the copyright. And second, the defendant knew that those acts infringed the copyright, or the defendant acted with reckless disregard for or willful blindness to the copyright holder's rights. This sounds a lot like what Casey Tron, Frogger, and Denims did, doesn't it? They even proved it in their own videos. We don't even have to guess. It's not like a 50.01% chance. It's like 100% chance. So what are the damages for willful infringement? Up to $150,000 for each work infringed. Now, hold on. There's a lot more on top of these damages too. Ethan gets to collect everything the defendants earned from their live streams, all the donations, subs, ad revenue, everything from that copyright infringement goes to his pocket. And that's on top of the $150,000. And all these legal fees are gonna rack up for both sides, right? Well, yeah, that's kind of the point. Because while the defendants have to pay for their own lawyers, guess who has to pay for Ethan's lawyers? Also the defendants. Check out this law, okay? The court can award attorney's fees and costs to the winner who sues under Title 17, which is the copyright law in the US. So Ethan has very little risk in taking these cases all the way to trial. If you ever read The Prince, Machiavelli recommends that you wipe out your enemies completely with no chance of recovery when you get the opportunity. These creators have made themselves Ethan's enemies, and they're probably not gonna survive this lawsuit because if I were Ethan, I just wouldn't agree to a settlement. I would take this all the way to a trial knowing full well that these guys are gonna pay for my legal bills. Reaction content is supposed to enrich the conversation, add to it, put new layers or perspectives on things, get a community discussion going, or maybe even a good laugh. Caseytron, Frogan, and Denims, they didn't do that. They maliciously did reaction content because they wanted to steal content to harm another person. And they're so brain dead for doing it, and in the way that they did it, we won't even remember them when they're gone. That's my take, at least. And by the way, I'd love to do this jury trial, so Ethan, call me.